So this is, again, prior to the actual support patch, right? Support patch is 1.27, but we're already seeing things like Lucio Mercy and Brigitte, and this is kind of like a solo tank style here, right? So Kongdoo Panthera already rolling out without a diva. And then they're you can kind of treat the Brigitte as a DPS. Most people really do. She can kind of be an off tank, but she's more or less kind of a counter pick in terms of like the DPS. So you have that whole meta where if there's a long range hero or something like that, then you normally don't play Brigitte. But like if they start on a Tracer or a Genji or something, you can swap onto Brigitte, and then they would go, the team that was Genji. There was the Brigitte swap, then normally you have the swap back to like a Pharah or a Widowmaker or something long range that Brigitte can't easily interact with. So it's more or less treated as primarily a DPS role, but it also fills the job of an off tank as well. Support, by the way. And then Runaway, not much to explain here. This is the more classic GOATS composition with the 3-3. And they are so we're seeing a lot more variants of GOATS, in the fact that we're seeing more variants of GOATS, especially Europe was doing it, where in the GOATS v GOATS matchup, the Moira actually goes Zenyatta so that they can help burning things down. But Moira is a really good kind of first pick. It's kind of just, covering your bases. Because if the opponent does have some high spam damage, like the Pharah in this case, the Moira is going to be the best hero to heal up that damage and sustain for as long as possible. Did Yano?
Side opposition.
What is Yano doing there? Is this bait? Is this another Runaway bait?
Very powerful against the Junkrat that has no Widow to back it up.
Push into the side. Holt not going to find anything. Youngjin under fire, goes low, but will be able to stay alive.
Is that bait? Something's going on here, chat. Is Yanu baiting here? Janu. Is Janu baiting here? So, Janu's here, and Decay, because the composition hasn't been scouted, right? 348, so 3 seconds until comps become public. Decay swift strikes into the left rim this is a pretty standard maneuver for a Genji to make sure he can't get headshot and whatnot like this. But what is Janu doing here? What is Janu doing here? So he's here. He's not scouting, because you don't hide in a tiny-ass room to try and scout.
Position.
And then the rest of the team goes in. Roar bubbles. And then Yanu is in here, and he gets knocked back by something, and then boosts out. He's discorded, and he's low. And he retreats back to main.
To the side, Holt.
Is this bait or is this anti-tank? Because if GOATS or something were trying to run into this room, Janu could boost out of it to keep the tanks in line of the halt and the damage from both of the projectiles for a lot longer. So Janu can use the boop as like a displacement. And then if they do chase Janu, they chase him right into the same areas that Sumansu and Hoxall can spam out. But against Dive? Do they have... And they don't even have the healing to sustain him. Because if he does get stunned, like if they had a Brigitte, the Brigitte's shield bash could cancel Janu's boost, and then he'd get absolutely deleted. Chow, what do you think? Why is Janu there? This is first point setup, so this is planned in advance. Is there a Junkrat trap in here? If there's a Junkrat trap in here, it's for bait.
What Panthera is capable of. And you know that Sumansu in the booth means no Stitch Widow on one of Widow's strongest maps of Assault.
Push forward.
See that it's the same.
Hello! He's there again.
Composition, Diva's position is scouted by the Sonic Arrow.
So what are you doing, Janu? Hey, look, there's a trap.
I'm taking a lot of damage.
And there's going to abuse Janu.
With that halt.
Janu's gonna boost out of there.
Janu.
Got ding too.
Falling low, but he's just going to be helping to take Ting out of the mech, and Hoxel
Yo.
comes with the kill. Now get the second one onto Youngjin. He'll get the res onto the Diva. Twilight going to be eliminated. But Sominsu comes into the back, finds Slumping. Now they find Roar. Everybody just going to be taken down here. Res brings the Twilight back in.
Just got fucking deleted. I don't think he's there as bait. I don't think he's as bait. I'm gonna say it. I don't think it's bait. I don't think he's bait. Because I don't think he's cared. I don't think he cares if he gets scouted. I think he's there to slow them down if they go that direction so that the double projectiles can get value. I think he's just meant to slow down the pace at which Kongdoo Panthera can play and rotate. I don't think he gives the remotest of a shit. Body block them, boop them back into that tiny little doorway in the sight line where Suminsu, Hoxel, and Bumper can all fuck with them. I don't think it's bait. He's doing it twice. He got scouted. He knew he got scouted. Sonic makes a noise. He stayed there for so long, even after he was scouted. Yeah, I think it's there to slow the pace down.
Into the fray, so Runaway is still going to be operating as a 6-man.
Isn't that the same? No.
Onto Ding's mech, so forcing him to surrender any ult charge that he had gained.
What a great play to set up Janu as a bait there. It looked...
Bait, you have to trick the opponent. If you're going for a disruption, it doesn't matter what the opponent thinks.
To me, even from that perspective, that he was just going to get punished for where he was. He was scouted.
Sonic makes a noise and has an animation.
Runaway knew how Panthera were going to operate around this. They collapse in. They trade up in kills. Get a few ultimates here, the most important one being the Riptire. And Kongdoo Panthera...
They've got a Roadhog here to fuck with him. Because he's doing it again. A bait would only happen once. A bait would only happen once. This is the third time he's done this now.
Has to go back to the drawing board.
Sup, Yanu? Youngjin's like, get the fuck out of there.
At the barrage as well. Big drag out onto that hook here onto Janu as he tries to stay alive.
So these little platforms here are what make it so difficult, especially on Oasis, for a Pharah to try and take space. Because like a defending Pharah can use these little areas, you know, to spam these out. But if a Pharah kind of crosses these into them, like if an attacking Pharah crosses here, eventually their altitude is going to make it to the point where they can't really retreat without either giving up altitude or using a cooldown to retreat. So if a Pharah is holding really far up like this, which they won't normally do against a Widowmaker or something like that, you know, that's fine. But if you are holding here and they don't have a Widowmaker, an attacking Pharah is going to find it much more difficult to push into an enemy Pharah's airspace or anything like this. Also, one of the really cool things about this is... Not sure if you guys knew about this flank. You can actually cross these. So, not sure if you guys knew that. So, but yeah, so there are all these, like, there you can cross there. Whether it's over here, it's the same sort of thing with this coast flank, and the fact that if the opponent pushes in, they don't really have the ability to retreat nearly as well. So the defending Pharah has the advantage, because the attacking Pharah, you know, you can kind of like sit here or something like this and spam these areas, but the opponent can very easily retreat. But if you try and like move into airspace that is not controlled by your ground team beneath it, not only are you in a lot higher of a threat, but you no longer have cover, and you aren't able to as easily retreat or anything like that. Whereas if a defending Pharah is in this area, you know, you can pick what angles you're attacking or something like that, and if the opponent tries to push into you and you have a barrage, you can use the walls, like this, for example, to barrage from safety. You know, you can get the splash damage and whatnot, and you can barrage from safety, whereas an opponent, Pharah, can't do the same thing, because whereas the opponent isn't trying to kind of push into you, they can retreat away from you. But, yeah, it's just very, very distinct on this point in particular, because of these little high ground areas very discreetly cutting off the map into different areas or different kind of zones of airspace, if you will. This is my little picnic ground. It's my picnic. Yeah. Pretty much it. Not much of questions? Anybody have any questions about that? We're flying. In your opinion, are there any benefits to playing Overwatch with text or voice language that you don't speak? No, I don't think so. Not that I can think of, unless you wanted to actually learn the language. How did you get so much? How did you get so knowledgeable in Overwatch? Watching a lot of other people play. I also like to kind of think that my engineering background helped, because engineering is a lot about problem solving. So, you know, engineering's one thing, is that like if you're a mechanical engineer, you're learning a lot of things about mechanical engineering, but all fields of engineering teach a lot about problem solving. So I treat things like engineering problems almost all the time. Anyway, I think they're just like slowing things down, piecing them down one at a time, controlling as many variables as you can, and trying to understand, you know, why and how, not just what, goes a long way for people's understanding. So when I see this composition, I think dive. I think it's a, you know, a new variant of dive, but I do think that Janu should be the one initiating. But there's a lot of like long range harassment, and these fights are going on for a lot longer than I would have expected. I'd be interested if we were like spectating Bumper. Now Bumper's not a Zarya player, but it would be interesting to kind of see how Bumper is playing around this to try and enable Janu as much as he can. And Sominsu, you know, not a lot coming from the hacks themselves. Like the utility of Sombra can be really beneficial if you have follow-up, but so far it seemed like Sominsu, Haksal, you know, Bumper and Janu were kind of operating independently of one another. Look at how Runaway swaps off of their, I was going to call it a stupid comp, but I don't know what else to call it. We're just gonna assume that that's not insulting, and we're just gonna call this is Runaway's stupid comp, and we're gonna see how Runaway swapped onto their GOATS composition here. So this is like the perfect way for you to transition between compositions without completely demolishing your ult economy. This is a lot harder to teach teams than you would think here. You know, having things like getting the most out of their suboptimal compositions while they're kind of between fights and whatnot. So not only does Runaway successfully swap onto their compositions, but they use the ultimates that are coming online to win the fights while their composition sucks complete ass. Okay, so here they're here. Janu already used the mine, so Janu swaps onto D.Va. This is the first swap. Everybody else is the same because they have ultimates. So this is at 3 minutes and 15 seconds here. Okay. So Bumper uses Grav, and they don't use any other ultimates in order to win the first fight. So that's one fight won on a transitional comp. And then the next fight is going to be won off of EMP. So Bumper used Grav, he swaps. So he uses his ultimate, and he swaps. Bumper's back onto Reinhardt. This time, they're going to be using Suminsu's ult because Suminsu wants to swap. So EMP comes out. Haksal combos Pharah's barrage into that because Haksal is also going to swap. So they win the fight using two ultimates this time. Both ultimates which were on their transitional characters. Perfectly fine. Suminsu goes back to swap, or what is he doing here? Is he going to swap? Haksal has already swapped. He's on Brigitte. And Suminsu is he going to fight this one or go back? He's already swapped. Dragon is eaten. Now the only person who's on the character that they don't want to be on is Slime. And Slime uses his ultimate. And now, throughout this transitional comp, this swap happened over the course of 1 minute and 20 seconds. And they've done this successfully so that Bumper and Janu, who were the first ones to swap, have ultimates online. So through the actual swap of compositions, from stupid comp to GOATS comp, they maintained an ult rotation and an ult economy. I think that's really cool.